Hi everyone, I recently had my first ever tarot booth at an in-person Diwali market and I wanted to share my experiences with you guys because I know there are a lot of tarot readers and astrologers who want to do this but they think it's a little too out of their comfort zone because that's what I thought. But once you actually do it, once you're out of your comfort zone, you realize that it's not that bad of a place to be. So I wanted to share some tips, the things I brought with me to the market, and just what I learned from this experience with you guys. I'm going to start with my own experience first. This was a Diwali market at a local community club and I got the smallest kind of booth they had available, which was 7 by 7 feet because I'm not selling anything apart from my soul. And I thought that this would be the perfect size for it. So you do pay a rent for the thing you get, the area, and that is of course depending on where the market is. It was not that much because this was a community club that I was a part of, so I got a discount. Anyway, this was a 2-day market and I knew deep down that I will have to set boundaries at some point with people and I will have to be stern, but I also knew that I can do it. The market was also on the day that Saturn and Pisces turned direct, so it brought a lot of themes of boundaries and energy and all those spiritual themes, which was perfect. Now the first day was actually not that good for me. I had more clients on the first day, but for some reason it was a lot more draining, and I think this was because I did not get that along with my clients. They were all lovely people, nobody was rude to me, but I just didn't gel well with them, and because of that it took more energy to do the reading and I was very drained at the end of the day, to the point where I was kind of contemplating not even doing day 2. But of course I went, paid the rent, and then I had the best experience on day 2. So the first thing I want to start with is that be open. Know that at some point you will be setting boundaries, you will have to be a little stern, but overall you want to be an inviting, open, warm person. And because we are readers, I think a lot of us are already like that, so that's fine. But remember, the boundaries are very important. You need to know what type of reading you want to do and what type of reading you don't want to do. For me, of course, I had a whole list which I'll get into, but essentially no readings about death, health, pregnancy, and I forgot to add legal matters into it. So when someone asked me if they're going to get the custody of their child, I realized I should probably add legal matters to the list of readings that I'm not going to do. But the main kind of rule, overarching rule above this was that I can refuse to do any reading that I am not comfortable with. And you need to remember that. You are allowed to say no. With this whole custody reading, I knew deep down I shouldn't be doing this, but I started the reading anyway. And when I pulled out 2 cards, I was literally talking about the cards, but midway I just stopped and I was like, sorry, I cannot do this reading. Because my intuition was telling me this is not a reading that I should be doing. It's too sensitive, and I think that person was a bit biased. So make sure you listen to your intuition. Intuition is the key behind all of these things, and you need to be connected to it. You need to be connected to your kind of self-worth and self-respect, and be able to set boundaries, know what you're comfortable with and what you're not. But at the same time, if it is your first experience, then it is also okay to make mistakes. Like, I accepted that reading and I started doing it, but midway I stopped. So know that it is okay to kind of make a mistake and then correct it, or just keep making it, but later on realize what the mistake was and take that lesson forward. So, like I said, day 1 was overwhelming, but a big part of that was also how I priced my readings. Now, it doesn't matter the cost of your reading, that depends from individual to individual, but what matters is how you price it. Like, is it priced by question? Is it priced by time? So on the first day, I priced it rupees 300 for 15 minutes. That was a big fucking mistake because as an introvert, I realized that I had to talk for 15 minutes, which sounds like less time, but once you start the timer, it feels like a very long time. So when I kept the reading according to the time, I felt this pressure to fill the time, and it really drained me because to be honest, answering one question does not take 15 minutes. It takes way less. So once you've already answered that, the client will ask other stuff and it's gonna get really draining. At least it was for me. So if you are an introvert who gets drained easily, I would suggest not pricing it by time. I mean, do keep an idea of the time that's passing, but like you don't have to price it by the time. Instead, the second day, I charged the readings by question. So it was rupees 100 per question. And that was so much better because I did not feel this pressure to keep talking even though I was done. And it just made the interactions shorter and it left more room. So if you're also like a mutable heavy person astrologically, you may prefer that kind of freedom because the whole 15-minute thing is very bounding. And if you prefer that, then go for it. But for me, it was too bounding. And I prefer to just talk as much as I have to talk and just then stop. So I definitely prefer to price my readings by question or by number of cards. Even though I priced it by question, I did have a thing in my head that 2 to 3 cards per question is just enough. So yes, when I priced it by question, it was way better. I gave more readings on the first day compared to the second day, but I still had a better time during the second day. And this was again because of me changing the price. Again, know that you can make changes anytime you want. On the second day, I kind of changed up my prices and I had to change the placard which mentioned my prices, but I did it. It's not that big of a deal. And just know that whenever you feel uncomfortable, you can speak up and you can make a change. These are like some of the most important things. Know that at the end of the day, you're going to be fine. Have people there who can support you. My parents were there, my cousin came later on, my friends came as well. I do have a few, and they came. I also ran into people. There's mosquito. So yeah, it was a really good time the second day, and have people there who can support you. Have support from yourself. Kind of make sure you know how you're feeling, and you know what's making you uncomfortable, what's not. Be an inviting person. Interact with other people in the market. I met some of the sweetest people, nicest people, and most of them were Pisces placements, which is like I'm a Pisces Sun and Venus, so that's nice. We love Pisces placements. And so met really amazing people. Obviously, you interact with the people who are right next to you, but also interact with other people and give people your card, your business card. It is an investment, but it is necessary. Interact with the people passing by. Ask them if they are into spirituality. If they say yes, just hand them your card and be like, oh, if you would like to learn more about this, here's my card. And just make sure you're an open person. As an introvert, it can be difficult, but the rewards of being an open person are worth it. You make a lot of connections and you just have a really good time. Before I get into the list of things you need to have for a market, I do want to mention that these are kind of a one-time investment because you're not going to make them over and over again. You're only going to get them made once and then you're going to reuse them for each market. Whereas the rent, you will have to pay the rent for the booth each time. But apart from that, these things are a one-time investment. Apart from business cards, which when you run out, you'll have to make more of them, but that's it. I do want to mention that if you're not sure of what you want these things to look like or what you want them to say, try to make a cheaper DIY version before you get them professionally made. Let's talk about the things that you need to have with you. I kept them so neatly in this box. Let's talk about it. First thing you need are business cards. These are essential. I got them made from 2 different people, so I have like 2 different versions of it. But business cards, you need them. You need to give them to people so they know who you are and you can get a lot in bulk. I would like to show you my business card as well. I'm going to put it over the screen. So as you can see, on one side, I used this graphic that I made a while ago for like a tarot card representing me. And I put this on one side so that the business card looks like a tarot card. And I also put a little affirmation there because it's incentive for people to not throw your card away. Most people, they throw business cards away, but when you have a cute little thing that isn't you selling something, but rather you giving them something, they have more of an incentive to keep it and not just throw it. So that's why I kind of put this little affirmation thingy. And on the other side, I have my information, my name, what I do, all the links, and one QR code, which is for my website, because my website also has links for all these things. So that's the QR code I chose. You can simply put the QR code for your Instagram or anything, but I would say have a QR code because we live in the era of QR codes, and most people just scan it. So make sure you have a QR code. It's cute. The next thing you need is something showing your payment method. So, you print something out that has a QR code on it that people can scan so that they can make the payment. Most people do pay by UPI or PayPal if you're in America these days. And it's best to have a QR code. Like I said, we live in that era. So you can DIY this, but I don't know how you're going to DIY a QR code. You'll have to print it out. But a nice DIY that I thought of was that if you don't want to get an acrylic stand, even though they are durable and I think they're a good investment, you can just take a photo frame and put that printout inside like a photo. So because you're going to need like a stand. So get a thing that shows your payment method. Number 3 is a banner or a standing banner thing. I don't have it with me right now, but I did get a banner that you can see right here. It says in big bold fonts, tarot readings. It doesn't need to be too fancy, but people need to be able to read it. Some people even get the standing thing, and a lot of people had that, but I think it is a bigger investment, so you don't necessarily have to get it. But I do think there should be a chart paper or something, if you want to DIY it, that says what it is that you're doing. Mostly intuitive people are also extremely crafty because art and spirituality go hand in hand. So DIY it is fun, and it is also good if you want to save money. Number 4, and this is kind of optional, but I also got a thing made that mentions my Instagram. I just wanted something where people can scan the QR code. This is a little unnecessary, but if you are like me, then you can get it made. It basically just kind of puts focus on your Instagram. I'm going to show it here so you can see it. It puts focus on your Instagram, the QR code, what people can find there, and it's basically just to attract people and kind of put a spotlight on that. This can also be your Twitter, whatever social media you use. Optional. Another optional thing, but I think it's important, and I like to call this incentive. These are small amethyst chips, just tiny pieces of amethyst. I kept them in a bowl, as you can see. People like crystals and they like free stuff, and they get to just pick a crystal after the reading from the bowl. I think it's a good way to even connect with people and give a little bit of gratitude. This whole pouch cost 1,000 rupees, and it has like, I don't know, 200 crystals, and it's again a little bit of an investment, but this will last long because I only did one market and I still have so many left. Now this is number 5 or 6, I don't remember, but this one is not optional. It is a list of rules that people need to read before they get the reading, and I printed it out and I put it in an acrylic stand from Amazon. Now you can see it on the screen. I will also link this below, but this is essential. Very, very important list of rules. And a little bit of disclaimer, tarot readers are not substitutes for therapists or doctors. And a little disclaimer about future predictions. Tell them to focus the reading around themselves. You cannot tell them if their crush likes them back. And kind of stuff like that. Again, no readings about health, legal issues, death, pregnancy. And most important of all, that you have the right to refuse to answer any question that does not fit within your boundaries. Remember this. Why it's necessary to have this in writing is so that you can kind of point the sign and be like, the rules are the rules. People do prefer it when it's written down because it kind of emphasizes that this is a proper rule, not just something you're saying on a whim. This is not just something you're saying because you don't feel like doing it. It's an actual rule, it's an actual boundary. Important tip I have is to tell people to tell you their question before they make the payment, so that you can ensure that their question fits within your ethical boundaries. This is essential to avoid confusion, and sometimes you forget and people pay and then they tell you the question and you realize it's a weird question you don't want to answer. In that case, just refund their money, apologize. But to avoid that, do tell them that, please tell me your question before you get the reading. I do want to emphasize again, if they have made the payment and then they tell you the question and you realize it's kind of weird, do not be afraid to say no and be like, I am very happy to refund the money, or you can change your question and kind of help them through it, help them frame the question, but it's okay to say no. Number next, and probably the most important one, something displaying your price. As you can see, this was my reading the first day where I priced it by time, and beautiful DIY by me, but then I realized that this was not working for me. So on day 2, what I did was I kind of stuck a paper on the acrylic sheet. So this went behind, but it got covered up by the new prices. And on the second day, I also started offering astrology readings, which was a good idea. It was really fun. Gave my first astrology reading in person to a 12-year-old girl. Of course, I kept it normal. I didn't talk about like her relationships. It was just about her as a person, but it was really fun. Regardless, the point being, I did have an acrylic thing from Amazon and I put the thing inside it, but when I changed my price, I stuck this on top because you can change shit anytime you want. In conclusion, everything I mentioned, you can find it down below. I'm going to make a PDF of all of this. The things you need, things to remember, all that. My rules, a PDF of that. You're going to find it down below. And if you like this video, please like it. And if you have done a tarot market, whatever market, and had a booth there, I would love to know your experience and the things you learned from it, because I know there is just so much to learn. And I want to conclude by saying that it is a step out of your comfort zone, but recently I've realized that stepping out of your comfort zone is not the worst thing ever. And we need to remember that new things are not good or bad, they are neutral. When we're going into it, it's a neutral thing. And once we go in, our experience, it can be whatever it has to be, but don't think that something is bad just because it's new. It's not. New is neutral. That's why it's neutral. And go with curiosity, but also know what you want, what makes you uncomfortable, and do not be afraid to set a boundary. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to learn a lesson, interact with people, have fun, look hot, that will attract people, and have a good time.